G'day everybody, Andy Maher here. Welcome to episode 5 of The Blueprint, proudly brought to you by our good friends at Hyundai. Joining me, as is always the case, former champion skipper Mark Maclure and Carlton Director of Coaching and Development Rob Wiley joins us as well. Rob, thanks for coming on the show after a difficult loss last Friday night. It's good to see you.
It's great to be here, and it's about the Carlton Footy Club, and obviously it hasn't been what we wanted this year, but there's still a big part of the year to go.
Absolutely. Before we get stuck into what's transpired in the last couple of weeks, we just probably need to explore the fact that there's a bit of history between you two. It goes back about 55 years. Am I going back too far, or
too far, Andy?
Going back a little too far?
About a year too far, really.
Where does it go back to?
Robbie and I were at Manning Park in the juniors together with Brian Peake and Peter Spencer.
Peter Spencer, yep.
So there's a couple of handy types coming through that team.
It was a pretty strong footy club and a lot of history, Manning Junior Footy Club, so they were great times.
Actually, I can't remember him.
Can you remember him?
Oh, I got a photo.
Yeah, right.
But you know what threw me? He was a skinny bloke then, and
What do you think I'm not now?
Yeah. Since we were last here, we've gone 2-2, and the losses have been diabolical, but the wins have been positive. So I guess we're none the wiser upon returning to have a chat about where we're at than maybe where we were before we were last here.
Look, I think Friday night was certainly a real disappointment because we'd made great progress. Definitely, the Essendon game was just one that was just in every aspect we were terrible. And Melbourne, I think sometimes you go out into games thinking you're going to win it, and we didn't work hard and we made poor decisions. Our ball use was terrible, and the players certainly copped a fair bit of criticism, and the club copped a fair bit of criticism. So to be able to fight back and string 2 games together was what we believed in. We still believe that we can play some fantastic footy. What we've got to do is make sure we sustain it from quarter to quarter and from week to week.
Robbie, we finished 6th last year on the ladder, and the supporters are starting to bellow about now we're at 16th. It's a big drop in a very short period of time. And inconsistencies in games, inconsistencies in quarters, inconsistencies, I reckon, sometimes in selection. That's what some of them think that way, have added to this. So the inconsistency across the board has been really poor, as you would know. Yeah,
and it's funny, Sellers, because, coming from last year, and we put up some fantastic performances last year, and again it was, sort of periods of a game where in any game there's going to be momentum. And in the momentum swing, sides scored heavily against us, and that was something that we had to certainly have a look at and improve on. Since then, I think we've added to our list. I think our list has got far better. Our pre-season training was fantastic. We've got David Butterford in. He challenged the players, and they accepted it. And comparing Arizona from first year to second year, it was harder. So all the things pointed to us being better. And and if you dissected each game, Port Adelaide, we were very good, and then we had a fade out in the last quarter. Richmond, we should have, 3-7 in the last quarter.
We lost that game. And
that's what I was saying, we did. But then Essendon and Melbourne, we were atrocious. But the playing group never stopped believing. So where we were last year compared to this year, it's been very frustrating, and certainly it's come from, as I said, in all my years, I didn't see it coming. But we've just got to chip away, Sellers. I think, as I said, West Coast and Western Bulldogs, there were so many positives too, Andy. But we definitely sort of played poorly against Collingwood, and full credit to Collingwood. They're a very good side.
Why don't you find out about the character of the group?
Yeah,
this is a really good time, an interesting time to find out who can stand up in a tough period. So we'll watch.
In that 4-week stretch, we've seen Chris Judd come back and fall over in a couple of minutes, and it was not good for anybody who loves football, let alone Carlton supporters, in particular, to see what happened to him. It was fascinating listening to it talk about on SEN on Friday night before the game, how he felt his work ethic and the commitment he'd made to be the best player he can possibly be might be taking a toll on him now at this stage of his career. I wonder whether he was brought into this club to be a standard setter from a player culture perspective. Can you, you're only recent to the place, can you see the impact that Chris Judd's had around the group as being manifest amongst players of that football club?
I've seen it at West Coast too, Andy. When I suppose the drama with Ben Cousins, and and the only person that could have stepped into Ben Cousins' shoes was Chris Judd, because he had that great respect, even in that earlier years, of the playing group. And there's no doubt, having come to Carlton last year, to see that same impact that he has. So, look, you know, he's just been a marvel. He's been a player that, you know, I spent 6 years with him at West Coast in the first. You know, for him to want to get the best out of himself, not only in fitness but in his skills, he understood where he was at and where he needed to improve. So, you know, he's just the ultimate professional.
He's been the best player in the game at one stage.
No doubt about that.
No doubt, no one doubts that. And unsurpassed by anybody, even past Lee Matthews at some stage, I would think, as a midfield player.
And so it was the way he played.
That's amazing.
And the way he played too. You know, he always wanted. I mean, his first comment to me was, "I want to be the best inside player." And that's, you know. And I said, "Well, you've also got to have that balance. You've got to have that balance of the outside, you know." But he just wanted to be seen as a hard ball get player, and I think, you know, that's proven over the years.
So how long will he be before he's back?
Probably we've got the bye, so he'll miss St Kilda and then the bye. We're hoping that just after the bye he'll be ready to go, because he'd have to be the unluckiest player. I mean, the mechanism of how he did that injury,
horrible,
you know, anyone could have been put in the same position.
Have you got a gut feel about beyond 2014 with him?
Look, I'm hoping he'll, you know, continue, because he's only 31 years of age.
Yeah, he's got a lot to give.
A lot to give, you know, and the good thing is that he's prepared to give. It's not all about Chris Judd. You know, the amount of work that he does with our younger players. He spent a lot of time with Tom Bell. He spends time with Cripps and Holman, the young boys that have come in, looking at stoppages and, you know, what you can do better there. So not only does he give in playing, but he gives a lot to the development of our kids.
In footy terms, you've probably spent as much time alongside Mick as anybody, and so much was invested in Malthouse when he came to the footy club. And as I said, you've been with him for a long time. The challenge in front of him right now would seemingly be pretty significant. How are you sensing the resolve of Mick in terms of where the club is right now after what happened on Friday night?
Yeah. Oh, gee, I tell you what. He was pretty angry, and rightly so. And you know, I saw that at West Coast, and I'm seeing the same passion, the same drive that, you know, he wants to, you know, help Carlton Footy Club have success again. You know, people talk about age, but, you know, to me, Michael's evolved over the years, and his umpteen years of coaching, he's been able to go with the flow. And, you know, I see no different. I don't think, you know, he's obviously got more experience. He's got certainly, you know, still that driving ambition to be successful.
How can he explain the first half of last week? That was unbelievable, really. It was just poor. Did they feel as though they were inferior to the opposition?
No, not
because that's what it looked like to me on the ground. They looked like they
and you know,
felt inferior.
we got away to a reasonable start.
Yeah.
You know, we kicked the first goal, and then I think we had a couple of set shots and we missed. And, you know, it's about making the most of the opportunities. And then the second and third quarters, you know, Collingwood just really, you know, put the screws on. And we played poorly.
Yeah, but don't forget you lost a few players in between those two games. You know, when they played Western Bulldogs, and then you play West Coast, and then there's 8 players different.
You never like to make excuses, but that's fact.
No, let me do it for you.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay? I mean, seriously, it is. Judd and Curnow and Carazzo and a few others as well. I mean, I think that Yaron and Wade are a huge loss. Yaron's best year, actually, so far as I've seen. So, and there's a couple around him as well, so that's a big drop in numbers.
And when you are playing up against the best sides, you do need, you know, most of your good players on the park. And you, as I said, you know, we have to develop a side that doesn't matter who's in, they have to play their role and they have to understand what's expected of them. But, you know, the quality that was missing certainly did have an impact on us. But, you know, we learned. I mean, Collingwood's pressure was fantastic, and that's what modern day football's about. And they forced us into lots of errors, and we lost our composure. You know, that's fact. But, you know, we've got to learn from that and rebound next week.
Late in that game, I don't know what to make of the last quarter. I'm not sure what you guys made of it internally, but late in the game against the West Coast Eagles, when the game appeared to be gone, it seemed to be freed up, and the blokes threw the shackles off. It said what it looked like. I'm sure it's far more complex than that. Yeah. And we saw them play the good footy that they'd played against the Western Bulldogs as well. And when we're playing well, what have you identified as being the trigger points for us. We're going to have a look at some of the forward pressure. I'm sure it's more than just this, though, Rob.
Sensational stuff. That's where Yaron's got better. As a chaser and tackler and pace. He actually kills the opposition in that area, and his attack on the ball now is much better than it was.
No doubt about that. He's playing with a lot of confidence. He's always had the skill sellers. But
and there's Ellard, who's a role player up forward.
Role player, great tackler. I think the Western Bulldogs and the West Coast, our tackling was superb. You know, so therefore it wasn't just our forward pressure, it was our pressure all over the ground.
Scotland, then a smother. Bryce Gibbs smothered, you know, it was terrific.
And we set our own intensity. I think against Collingwood, our tackling pressure fell away.
Right.
It did.
So, you know, sometimes they all intermingled, the pressure and the skills and the belief.
Can we get a feel on Garlett? He's great one week, bad the next.
Yeah.
And seriously, it's a body language thing too.
Yeah.
He sort of drops off.
Look, he had a terrific year last year.
Absolutely.
And, you know, his ability to kick goals, his ability to put pressure on was fantastic. This year, he struggled. He got sent back to the VFL and, you know, his form there was okay, pretty good in the last half, and that was the reason why he came in against West Coast. And his West Coast game was pretty good, but unfortunately he was unable to sustain it. So, you know, we're looking for those type of players to be able to play week in and week out.
Sure. I wonder whether there's going to be a focus on going forward. And Mick mentioned the word regeneration after the game on Friday night, and we saw Sam Doherty play his first game for the club against Collingwood. Tough night to make your debut, but he just looked like he's made of the right stuff in a tiny little... He looks like a competitor. He looks like he wants to be in the middle of it. He's not afraid to get the footy in his hands. We've just been talking about Jeff Garlett, who appears to be a bit the opposite at the moment. Is this going to be a focus in the type of players we bring into the club in the next couple of years, Rob?
I think so. I think we've, you know, and I'm really sort of excited with the type of players we brought in this year. I think Patrick Cripps is, you know, going to be an outstanding player. I reckon Nick Holman and Cam Giles, all our first-year draft, I think they all can play in excess of 100 games for Carlton. But then you've got Menzel. I think Menzel, you know, is really outstanding. And I think Doherty at 20 years of age, he hasn't turned 21 yet. Are
they all fighters, Rob? Are they the kind of guys that want to fight? They don't want to lose a one-on-one contest. They're going to fight to the death too.
I see there's a lot of burning ambition and a lot of drive. And that's what you need. We need those type of players.
One of the questions I want to ask you is about Menzel. 3 of the 7 games he's been the sub.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually, everyone likes the way he goes about his job. Is he not fit enough to last a game? Is he not well? Is he what's wrong with him?
Yeah, sure. Well, the first game against West Coast, and he had a great impact coming on.
Sensational.
Obviously, the winning goal. He sort of came in, and we thought the balance of the side just needed him to be a sub. And then he was sub again last week, and that was a lot to do. He had a virus during the week, and you know, we just felt that, you know, he needed to be in the 22, but you know, whether he could have run out a game, you know, under that.
Would it be better to give it to Scotland as a sub who's ageing, or a Maclure or someone like that, and play the kids, because they need more time?
Yeah, oh, no doubt about that, fellas. But I suppose, you know, the sub rule is you know, most coaches say, well, you know, they prefer not to have the sub in some instances, but it is, and you've got to wear it. So you're always looking for a player that, can they give you a bit of an X factor when they come on?
I know there's a lot more we want to talk to you about, and you're going to join us next week on the show as well. So thanks for your time today, Rob. Great to have you on the program. That's it for Ep 5. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for our next instalment of The Blueprint later on this week. Go Blues!